Dear friends and followers, welcome back to my channel and to a video that I hope will help you not in the short term, but also in the long run. You've heard me say a good pilot is always learning many times over the past few years. So I thought I will go deep on that quote and show you my 8 powerful studying techniques that anyone can easily apply. Pen and paper for this one, and let's get started. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, my book, Read and Do 100 Checklists to Become a Better Version of Yourself. It's packed with practical tips and techniques that you can use to organize your life, optimize study sessions, and stay focused. Many people have seen it and read it and they love it. So check it out if you're looking for a solid guide to help you stay on the top of your game. Link is in the description box below. Whether you are a pilot, a flight student, or not related to aviation at all, I am sure every one of you has been in a situation in which you had to prepare yourself for an occasion where your knowledge was being questioned. Whether that was an exam in school, a job interview, an assessment, or even a theoretical or practical exam in flight school. In most cases, the outcome is directly dependent on how well you've prepared. And as you know me, I am not only convinced that a good pilot is always learning, but I'm also an advocate of the 5 Ps, meaning proper preparation prevents poor performance. Think about this statement for a second. Now, since learning processes and active studying are inevitable key components of everyday life, let's think about ways to optimize these in order to become more effective and advanced learners. Because by improving something like our learning techniques and learning habits, which are so present and vital to everyday lives, we are not only able to learn more in less time, but we also save time in the long run, since we might be able to memorize and understand certain things and relations better and quicker. So first off, the tips and tricks in this video are meant to help everybody, even though I am fully aware that the methods and tricks mentioned in this video will not be suitable for everybody's current situation and daily routines. Some will need to prepare themselves for exams while working a full-time job. Some may have kids to care of, and some need to prepare for an occasion besides studying for school or university. So whatever the situation you might be in, I hope that some of the points I'll mention in this video will help you get closer to your learning goal. Let's start with a simple one. Let's have a timeline. A timeline is an incredibly powerful tool which is often underestimated, even though there is not much to it. All you need to know is your deadline, or as I like to call it, the victory line, and visualize it in front of you. So identify your overall victory line for whatever you are preparing yourself for. If you are studying for an exam, draw a line on a piece of paper and mark the beginning of it with the current date. Then go ahead and mark the date of the exam at the end of the line, big and red. The remaining distance between those points is your remaining preparation time. Now, divide your learning matter into categories or chapters and get a general overview of how much there is to learn. When you have that overview ready, faithfully evaluate how long you will need to work through all that at your own pace. But whatever you do, add a minimum of 10% safety margin on top of that. As pilots would like to call it, the contingency fuel. Divide that number of hours by the days you have left on your timeline, and you know how much time you need to learn every day or every week. Now, say you need to finish a textbook that has 300 pages and you know you'll be able to read about 25 pages a day. That's 12 consecutive days of reading to finish that book. Now put that safety margin on top and you can make a mark in 2 weeks from now on your timeline. If you realize you do not have that much time anymore, you're going to have to try to increase the time that you put in. Ways to do that without neglecting other things will follow at the end of this video. By the way, you can of course combine multiple timelines into one and have all your different learning goals on one singular timeline. Be sure you also add your working hours, your days off, and any time-consuming events so you have a better overview of how much you need to do in order to still make that victory line. When you are done with the first iteration of your timeline, make sure you put it somewhere where you can see it daily, and the bigger the poster, the better it is. Quality over quantity. When we train in aviation, we rely on trusted, high-quality materials because accuracy matters. Apply the same principle to your learning materials, whatever your field. Look for textbooks, guides, or online courses created by credible sources. Don't get me wrong, I don't want you to go to buy every book that is out there, especially online courses. There is so much rubbish out there. We are living in a time when finding high quality information for free on the internet has never been so easy. Check the source and then have at it. If you do have to invest, see learning expenses as an investment in yourself and in the knowledge and skills you'll keep for a lifetime. In aviation, our workspaces, the cockpit, are designed for efficiency and focus. You should aim for the same in your study space. A good environment can greatly improve your concentration, so find a place that's quiet, well lit, and set up with everything you need. Natural light is ideal, but if that's not the option, invest in a bright, adjustable desk lamp. That's not only helping you to stay awake and focus, but your eyes will thank you later. Bonus tip, stay hydrated. You often hear pilots remind each other to drink water because even mild dehydration can affect concentration. Keep water nearby and sip regularly, especially during those intense study sessions. Please avoid sugary drinks, which can lead to a crash in energy levels, hurting your productivity in the long run. Next up, another powerful trick. Use a timer to keep track of your breaks. If you not have tried this already, definitely you should. Set a timer for a specific time. I like to set mine to 60 minutes. And within that time, you should try and purely focus on your studying. When that time is over, set the timer to another 10 minutes and start the countdown. This is your break time, something like a cool down period, you could call it. Within that, you should try to completely separate your brain from studying. Use this break to stretch out a little, use the restroom, grab a snack, etc. Be cautious though with checking your smartphone in those short breaks. It will steal almost every time your entire focus, and 10 minutes on your phone feels like seconds. After that small break, reset the counter back to 60 minutes and continue studying. Definitely plan for a larger lunch break at some point because nutrition while studying is as important as drinking, and within that lunch break, it's the same as for the short ones. Free your head from work for that time. Your brain deserves it. A quick side note, try to use analog tools like an egg timer or an hourglass in different sizes for different time spans to not be dependent on any electronic devices that may cause distraction. Place your phone far away as possible while studying is the underlying message here. Now, speaking of distraction, being mindful of the choice of the actual setting is also quite important. Many people choose the library to study, just not to be at home, where many distractions like the all too soft and cozy couch and the filled fridge waits for them. Of course, this differs from person to person, and if you have not done it already, I recommend you try it out and find which studying spot is the best option for you. Active recall is something every pilot uses, whether it's running through checklists, flow patterns, or planning emergency maneuvers. The idea is simple. Instead of passively reading, test yourself on the material. This could be by creating flashcards or by quizzing yourself on what you have just read. It forces your brain to retrieve information, strengthening the neural connections associated with that knowledge. For example, after reading a chapter, pause and write down the key points from memory. Then go back and see how well you did. Not only does this reinforce your memory, but it also highlights areas that need more attention. Now that we have spoken a lot about spending multiple hours on one session, what about days on which you just cannot make the time to be studying that long? For many people, this actually might be the case since they have a full-time job, they have kids to take care of, or other regular commitments that just limit their time of conducting an actual learning session. In this case, one of the biggest game changers is using your commuting time. And I'm talking about passive traveling, obviously, namely every ride on which you are a passenger. The accumulated time we spend traveling and commuting throughout our lives is almost terrifying. Studies show that on average we spend, wait for it, 4 years of our lives in a car or train or whatever. Yes, commuting and traveling are not avoidable in many cases, but why don't we try to actively use this sort of wasted years we spend commuting and try to study instead? Maybe there is a way for you to not drive by car, but use public transportation when you need extra time to study. If you cannot waive your car, you could at least think of listening to educational podcasts on your topics of study or audiobook versions of your textbooks if they exist. Need some inspiration? Checklist number 17 in my book will show you how to make the most of your commute. If you decide to use the time you're sitting on a train or airplane, be even more mindful of the setting that is surrounding you. So try to minimize as many distractions as possible. One of the biggest one being noise. If you have noise cancelling headphones, you should definitely use them. Otherwise, you can always stick with earplugs to minimize the surrounding noise and therefore maximize your focus. You probably know where I am going with this. It's time to put the phone away. Our phones are powerful tools, but they are the biggest distraction of the 21st century. The addiction rates on phone usage are terrifying and it won't get better. So if you want to stand out, be knowledgeable, study hard, and let the others become dumb as a nut by staring at their phones. Studies have shown that even having a phone nearby can reduce concentration levels because it pulls your focus even subconsciously. So when you're doing focused study, put your phone on silent, turn airplane mode on, and keep it out of reach. If you are using your phone for study materials, consider disabling notifications to avoid interruptions. I know it can be tempting, but you'll be surprised at how much more you can accomplish when you are fully focused. Now, I know we covered a lot of tips, but the key takeaway is that consistency is your best friend. All these techniques won't work if you don't apply them regularly. Just as we train consistently in aviation to keep our skills sharp, learning is something you need to commit to as a habit. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to implement every technique that I just mentioned at once. Instead, start with one that sort of resonates the most with you and build up from there. Master those and over time add in more tools as they become part of your routine. The goal is not only to learn efficiently, but also to enjoy the process of growing and improving yourself. And on that bombshell, let her eat. And here's your checklist. Subscribe to my channel, check. Activate the notification bell, check. Follow my Instagram account, check. Perform a touch and go at my website, check. You can get this book either on Amazon or on my website. I highly, highly recommend you this. This is a fun read, super interactive. Just go for it and have a good time. And don't forget, a good pilot is always learning. Wishing you all the best. Your Captain Joe.